Just a few years ago, the automotive industry was buzzing with excitement around electric vehicles. The promise of a greener future, combined with ambitious targets and optimistic sales forecasts, had everyone caught up in EV euphoria. But now, the bubble has burst, and it seems like automakers are scaling back their EV plans. This time, it's not just Chinese startups facing hurdles. Even legacy automakers like GM and Ford are struggling to sell EVs. These companies are facing billions of dollars in losses, massive layoffs, and the very real possibility of closing their doors forever. But why are Ford and GM struggling to sell EVs? Are they not well made? Or is there something more to the story? Well, keep watching because in this video, we'll uncover the truth behind Ford and GM's EV crisis and why buying an EV might not be the smartest move right now. The financial crisis of Ford and GM. In just a single week, GM and Ford collectively fired over 1,000 workers and lost more than $5 billion in market value. General Motors, once the largest automaker in the world, is now struggling to keep its doors open. And you might be surprised to know that their own CEO, Mary Barra, is being blamed for it. On the other hand, Ford, the #1 American brand, is facing its own share of troubles in the EV race. Instead of making a profit, this iconic brand is losing a staggering $36,000 on every EV sold. Now it's like selling your car and giving the buyer enough money to buy another brand new car. The situation got even worse when Ford's electric vehicle division reported a massive operating loss of $1.3 billion in just one quarter, which is more than double the loss compared to last year's $1.1 billion. In simple terms, things are not looking good for these two automotive giants. And the biggest question is, why? Why are Ford and GM struggling in the EV market? Well, Ford attributed their current financial crisis to their ongoing investments in EVs and challenging market conditions. What that basically means is that they are spending billions of dollars on making these so-called futuristic electric vehicles. But the sales numbers do not match their expectations. Moreover, there is an exciting twist to this scenario. Many consumers in North America are simply not willing to pay bank-breaking prices for luxury electric cars when they can easily purchase gas or hybrid vehicles at much lower prices. But for Ford, things just keep getting worse. Their much-hyped electric truck, the F-150 Lightning, which they hoped would revolutionize the market, is now facing a dead end. The production of this truck has been stopped, and Ford's CEO, Jim Farley, is now asking the public to view Ford as a startup and ignore the mounting losses they are facing. Now, this statement is quite alarming, as Ford is one of the largest automotive companies in the world, and they should not have to rely on the startup mentality to sustain their business. On the other hand, the situation for General Motors is far more distressing. In just 1 week, over 1,000 employees were fired. People were killed due to faulty vehicles, and the company was facing massive losses in its EV division. So what exactly led to this downfall of one of the biggest names in the auto industry? Well, it all boils down to the decisions being made by GM's CEO, Mary Barra. She has been making back-to-back decisions, and unfortunately, not all of them have been in the best interest of the company. Their EV sales have been plummeting, and there have also been issues with their much-touted self-driving car project, Cruise. And amidst all this turmoil, Barra made a rather bold statement that GM will not lower the prices of their EVs and will not be able to make a profit on cheaper models under $30,000. This move clearly shows that GM is not interested in catering to the ordinary man, but rather focusing only on opulence EVs. However, the problems for GM do not end there. They had announced an ambitious plan to produce 400,000 EVs by mid-2024, but due to lack of demand, they have already bailed out on this plan. In the third quarter of 2023, they produced about 32,000 EVs, which was a 40% increase from the previous quarter. However, their sales only saw a 28% growth. And even though they have pushed back the production of their electric trucks, including the Chevy Silverado EV, and GMC Sierra EV. From 2024 to late 2025, it is implausible that these vehicles will be able to revive GM's EV division. But it's not just about poor sales. GM is also resorting to some drastic measures, such as cutting expenses, delaying factory production, and even doing stock buybacks to appease shareholders. And how can we forget about the Cruise fiasco? The self-driving car unit was supposed to be a game changer for GM, but it turned into a bad egg after a fatal accident where a pedestrian was killed by their driverless vehicle. After this incident, GM suspended all operations, top executives at Cruise resigned, and layoffs are expected to follow soon. If we speak about GM's financial situation, it also does not look very promising. The United Auto Workers strike alone has cost them a whopping $800 million since its start. Ford has also added to its troubles by forcing dealers to spend thousands of dollars on upgrading their facilities just so they can sell their EVs. And let's not forget about the workers who are caught in this turmoil. GM has already laid off around 1,300 workers as they shut down production of the Camaro and Chevy Bolt. The Orion assembly plant, where these layoffs occur, is being transformed for electric trucks, but it won't be operational until 2028. This means that the workers who have been laid off will face immense difficulties finding a new job in this industry, and their families will bear the brunt of these decisions. People are willing to switch back to hybrids and gas cars. Now, we all know that EVs are the next big thing, the future of transportation. But it seems like not everyone got the memo. In fact, recent data shows that almost 50% of EV buyers are trading in their shiny new electric vehicles for good old gas and hybrid cars. In 2023, hybrids like the Toyota Prius dominated car sales in the US with a whopping 88.3%, leaving EVs trailing behind at just 6.9%. And why is that? Well, it is pretty simple. Hybrids are more affordable and don't come with the hassle of range anxiety and charging issues. On average, a hybrid car costs around $42,318, whereas an EV will set you back a staggering $59,400. That's nearly a $17,000 difference. During the second quarter of 2022, Ford dealers sold 86.4% of their Mach-E inventory within just 30 days. However, by 2023, this figure significantly declined to merely 27.7%. The sales of Mach-E dropped by a staggering 90% compared to the previous year, going from 10,941 vehicles sold to just 633. Eric Merkel, Ford's head of U.S. sales analysis, tried to put a positive spin on these numbers by stating that overall EV sales have increased. However, he also admitted that many unsold Mach-E's are gathering dust on dealer lots, with no signs of being sold anytime soon. The F-150 Lightning also faces a similar fate. Last year, dealers sold 70% of their Lightning inventory within 30 days. This year, that number plummeted to a mere 35%. It's like the initial excitement for these EVs has died down, and now they're just being ignored. Now, here's the real kicker. Ford has set a target to produce 600,000 EVs this year. A lofty goal, no doubt. But what's even more shocking is that they're expected to lose at least $3 billion in the process. And to add fuel to the fire, Ford is asking their dealers to spend $1 million just to become EV certified and sell these futuristic, yet seemingly non-profitable vehicles. But here's where things get even messier. Some Ford dealers, particularly on the East Coast, say that Ford's production is out of sync with what customers really want. People are looking for affordable EVs with a range of over 300 miles, without all the unnecessary bells and whistles. However, automakers seem to be missing this crucial point. Ford and GM dealers are sitting on huge stockpiles of Lightnings and Mach-E's that they simply can't get rid of. In fact, some dealers have even turned down allocations from Ford, something unheard of before in the automotive industry. This is not just a blip on Ford's radar. It's a sign of a bigger issue lurking in the EV market. However, it's not just Ford or GM. Even Tesla, the leader in electric cars, is facing similar problems. They've had to cut prices and offer deals just to clear their inventory. What's even crazier is that the states with the highest EV sales are now seeing the slowest growth rates. And if that wasn't enough, remember those 200,000 Lightning reservations Ford was bragging about? Well, in reality, only 30% of those orders have been fulfilled, leaving 70% of customers waiting in limbo. Who knows if they'll even be interested in the Lightning by the time it finally hits the lots. Ford's November sales numbers are just another nail in the coffin. Overall, their sales are down by 5% compared to last year, with their pickup trucks and SUVs also taking hits. The situation has become so critical that Ford is scaling back its investments in electric vehicles. They've cut $2 billion in planned expenditures, slowed down production at their battery plant in Michigan, and delayed construction of another plant in Kentucky. It's like they're excited about the future, but their business model is still stuck in the past. And let's not forget about the human cost. The UAW strike at Ford's plants didn't just disrupt production. It also led to temporary layoffs and job insecurity for workers. Even after the strike ended, Ford reported a $1.7 billion loss in earnings. Plus, the new labor agreement is expected to add around $900 in cost per vehicle, which is an onerous burden for a financially struggling company. So what does all of this mean? Well, just like many other car makers, Ford and GM are facing major challenges in their transition to electric vehicles. The Biden administration's strict emissions rules have forced them to invest heavily in EVs. Basically, the government is saying, look, by 2032, we want 67% of all new cars sold to be electric, so you better get on board. But should automakers really listen to the government and ignore what customers want? Are EVs just a political ploy, or are they really the future? Well, let us know what you think in the comments section below. Also, if this video has sparked your interest, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more updates on the latest automotive news.